I don't really know how to start these kinds of videos, so this game is good. There, I think I did it with this one. Do I get a bronze medal? My family weren't the type of people who would buy a console very often. So for the longest time, all I really had was an N64 with a handful of games. And one of the games that really stood out to me, for whatever reason, was Banjo Kazooie, a 3D platformer released in 1998 by Rareware. This company back in the NES days was known for games like Battletoads and Wizard and Warriors, and before that Jetpack and Saberwolf on the ZX Spectrum. But what made them really famous was their partnership with Nintendo during the 16 to 64-bit era, with the Donkey Kong Country series and Killer Instinct on the Super Nintendo to GoldenEye and Diddy Kong Racing on the N64. Nowadays, they're not known for being too stellar. Ever since being bought out by Microsoft in 2002, Rare hasn't been the same ever since. So yeah, it's a bit of a depressing story. I mean, don't get me wrong, some of the games they put out around that time weren't that bad, but then there are those titles, and we don't speak of them here. But anyways, the game that always stood out to me in my very small collection at the time was always good old Banjo. Ever since playing it at a young age and revisiting it over and over again, I've always considered it one of my favorite games. Hopefully in this video I can explain why I like it so much. But first, let's go over the story. Gruntilda the Witch, the big baddie of the game, is talking to her sentient cauldron Dingpot inside her mountain lair. She talks about how pretty she is, but Dingpot declares that a young bear by the name of Tootie is prettier. This pisses her off to the point of wanting to kidnap her. Tootie goes to visit her brother Banjo, and after a little talk with Bottles, the short-sighted mole, Grunty swoops down, grabs Tootie, and takes her back to her lair. When Banjo finds out about this, he decides to go and save her. Little does he know that Grunty's plan is to have them switch beauty with each other through the power of a machine. Yeah, it's a weird plan, but I guess it makes sense? Maybe. Also, Banjo has a Breagle named Kazooie who spends most of her time in Banjo's backpack, acting as the sidekick. The really rude and sarcastic sidekick. These characters and many others you'll encounter in your adventure give the game so much personality and charm, which is seen in the dialogue. It's very well written, and has a few jokes here and there that would fly over your head if you were a young lad playing this game. I personally feel that the sequel has even better writing, but that's for another video. Also, I gotta mention that voice acting. Every character speaks with these short grunts and sounds, repeated over and over again, and it just works. It's so charming and it fits the game perfectly in my opinion. So you begin your adventure in the tutorial world of Spiral Mountain. This is where Bottles the Mole will teach you some of the different moves you'll be using for the entire adventure. Here you will get used to the controls, and Banjo controls really well. He doesn't feel slippery and he doesn't feel stiff either, and his jump is pretty much perfect. And the moves you get from the start are all pretty useful. After getting accustomed to the moveset, you'll be able to climb Spiral Mountain and then enter Grunty's lair. Grunty's lair acts like the game's hub world, where you find puzzle frames that you have to complete in order to open the corresponding world. In this case, you get a jigsaw piece almost as soon as you enter the lair for the first time. You take this piece to the puzzle frame and you complete it, and the door to the world that it's linked to opens. Inside these worlds, which are essentially the meat of the game, you'll find tons of different collectibles, which made this game noteworthy of being a collectathon. You have 100 notes, which are needed to unlock note doors that block off more of the hub world, 10 jiggies, which you need to unlock more worlds. One of them is rewarded when you find 5 Jinjos hidden through the levels, 2 honeycomb pieces, you need 6 for a new set of extended health. You got Mumbo tokens, which I will explain later. You got them trophies that award you with extra lives that really aren't that important. And then you got the Grunty switches that, when ground pounded, will unlock a Jiggy they can get in the hub world. Now, if that sounded a bit overwhelming, I don't blame you. However, it is a good thing that none of the levels that hold these collectibles feel too big for their own good. They get bigger over time, that's to be expected, but they never feel like they get annoying in terms of scale, like you get lost in them all the time as time went on. That's not the case for me anyway. Not all of the jiggies and stages are scattered around randomly. Some of them are actually awarded to you through minigames and small quests you can do, from racing a polar bear on a sled to being in an eating contest with the crocodile. The game makes sure to keep exploring from getting too stale. Now, throughout the worlds, you can find molehills where boggles will reside. He'll teach you more moves as the game progresses, and they're all useful, so I'll just list them off. The Talon Trot, which lets you scale steep or slippery surfaces. I love using this to traverse the levels a lot quicker. Banjo's regular running speed doesn't quite do it for me. Shooting blue eggs out of Kazooie's mouth or rectum. Aiming can be a bit problematic at points, but that's what the camera reset button is for. The Beak Buster. It's just a ground pound move, it's alright I guess. Flying and turning invincible. Flying requires red feathers while going invincible requires golden feathers. Flying works pretty well. Heck, you can even dive bomb later in the game. The ability to use shock jump pads that let you jump much higher. Also, these two kinds of shoes that act like power-ups. The wading boots are for traversing dangerous areas like swamp water and the hot sand, and the turbo trainers are for running really fast. Mostly used for time challenges. Reminder that these two shoes are limited for a very short amount of time at your nearest Toys R Us. Okay, so on to the levels. First world, Mumbo's Mountain. It's easy. The beach level, Treasure Trove Cove, which has freaking shark! But in all seriousness, this is a really nice and memorable world. I love the layout. Also, you can go really high on this lighthouse. It's cool to see most of the level from up here. The slow-ass water level, Clanker's Cavern, that has this freaking thing! And Gloop. Hi Gloop. But still, the swimming really hurts this level, cause it's bad. It's stiff and slow and it's just... Bubble Gloop Swamp. A kinda cool swamp area as the name suggests. It's not that spectacular, but I do enjoy going through it. Freezy Peak, the oddly named snow level that has a Christmas theme to it. I love this place. It's cheerful, awfully bright for the level supposedly taking place during the night, and it's just a lot of fun. Gobi's Valley, the desert world, that's probably one of my personal favorites because of the desert aesthetic and design. Fun fact, this level scared me to death when I first played the game. I got up to the giant sphinx and this hand thing popped up and attacked me, and I ran to my N64 and shut it off and crapped myself to sleep. Well, that last part isn't true, but I was still scared to death. It took me some time to finally muster up some courage to finally beat the world. Mad Monster Mansion, the spooky world. This one is pretty big. You got a giant mansion and a bunch of areas surrounding it. Also, don't forget that the mansion has different rooms you can enter. My favorite side area is the church outside of the mansion. It's a big, spacious room, but something about that music just haunts me in the right kind of way. I don't know what that means. Rusty Bucket I hate the engine room in the original release, and I will tell you why later. In the meanwhile, I guess it's alright. And last but not least, Click Clockwood. Probably the most unique out of them all. You explore this same giant area, this giant tree, right? 4 times in different seasons. Spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Now, back to the Mumbo tokens. In some of the worlds you'll find this strange looking hut where Mumbo the Shaman resides. His ability is to turn you into a creature. It's a different creature for each world. However, you have to give him Mumbo tokens as a form of currency, which are found throughout the different worlds. Not enough tokens? No transformation for you, sir. Each transformation works differently and lets you explore places you couldn't traverse with your regular form. You can become a termite and climb a giant tower, you can turn into a walrus, heck, even an alligator, a pumpkin? A pumpkin? Are you serious? Just 10 out of 10, 100 Metacritic score, better than Core in the House, A++. Now, one of the biggest flaws with this game, which is in the N64 original, is how it punishes you when you die. You see, when you die, you lose your notes and have to get them back. Somewhat. The notes are saved as a high score, but if you want the higher score than before, then you need to collect more than you did last time. That probably sounded confusing, but yeah, it's confusing the first time around and it's annoying. The notes, just like Jiggies, should have become permanent items to your inventory. I get that it wants you to avoid death, but it's annoying, and I hate it. Also, I hate the engine room in Rusty Bucket Bay because of this. Yes, that giant drop is an insta-kill, and if you fall, you can kiss your notes goodbye and get ready for more pain. It's a good thing that the Xbox Live Arcade port, which is the one I played this time around, removes this noteworthy problem. When you collect a note, it's collected. This actually makes dying more of a good thing this time around, because it actually respawns you back at the entrance of the world with no lost items or anything, which is incredibly useful for speedrunners. Now, if you lose all your extra lives, you know, those things you collected that you completely forgot about, You get respawned back at the entrance to the hub world, but really it's just more of a long walk, not that big of a deal. Also, I can't go over this game without mentioning the excellent and upbeat soundtrack by the one and only Grant Kirkhope. It's so upbeat and catchy, and all the tracks fit their respective levels perfectly. And I can't name a single track here that I dislike or don't care for, and I'd be surprised if you played the game and didn't find at least one track memorable in some way. It's that good in my opinion. Also, the graphics are pretty splendid for the N64. Everything looks cartoony and almost everything has eyes for some reason. It's just a really cute and expressive game. Now, to go over some of the side stuff in the game. There's a secret bonus game that you can access by going to Banjo's house in Spiral Mountain and looking at this framed picture of bottles. You basically get to arrange this puzzle that's on top of the moving picture. Now, if you're playing the XBLA version, for the love of God, save this minigame for when you've collected all of the notes. Remember, when you collect a note, it's forever gone in your inventory. Well, at least in this version of the game. But the way Banjo's programmed the picture frame makes it so that when he collects a note or whatever, it's gone and not added to your inventory. In other words, you're screwed if you're planning on 100% of the game. This is why I recommend you save this minigame for when you have all the 900 notes. Apparently it's not like that for everyone, but just to be completely safe, just save this minigame for the end of the game when you have all the notes. This actually happened to me even though I did patch the game. Okay, so when you actually beat some of the challenges, you can unlock sheet codes that you can activate on the Sandcastle in Treasure Trove Cove. All the codes you get from him are purely cosmetic, but cool nonetheless. Oh, yeah, almost forgot Sheet of the Spellbook. You can find them in secret locations in the hub world, and it'll give you codes to spell out in the same Sandcastle. These codes will give you extra blue eggs, extra red and golden feathers, all around pretty useful. Okay, so this is the part of the video where we get kinda spoilerific, you know, for a game with not much of a story. But if you haven't played this game from start to finish yet and you're kinda paranoid of this ending, skip to this part of the video. I'll give you a few seconds. Just put aside your chips. Come on. Alright. Okay, so once you have enough notes, you can open the door to Grunty's Furnace Fun, a giant board game where you get to traverse these little pads that all have different challenges. Beat one and you can move on to the next one. Some are based around you having to remember the different characters' voices or the songs of the levels, and some are around facts about Grunty. These are random for every playthrough, but you can acquire the information about her through her sister Brentilda, who shows up in the lair in different places. Just make sure to scribble them down on a paper or something. This will probably save you a lot of frustration. Maybe I should have done this. So when you're done with the board, you save Tootie and you can finally move up to Grunty's hideout. If you've collected enough notes, you can get a few bonuses before battling her, like full red feathers, full eggs, and an extra bar of health. Yeah, it's super useful. Now comes the final boss battle. It's challenging, fun, and really satisfying. I mean, for the entire game she's been taunting you, so you want to defeat her after her talking smack to you all the time. You get to shoot her with eggs, dive bomb her from the skies, and even summon these Jinjos to beat her up for you. And once it's all done, you feel really good knowing that you just beat the big baddie. She falls off the tower and gets stuck underground with a giant rock over her. Yeah, that's great, you just stay there for another 2 years. The ending sequence is Mumbo showing you these little moving pictures of different items you missed. These are part of the stop and swap idea, something that was basically supposed to carry over to the next game but never really did. I could spend a large chunk of the time explaining it, but I can't really do that because I'm already spent like 3 weeks on the script because I'm lazy. However, I do think it's pretty interesting to look into. Also, the game has a very intriguing development history. I suggest reading into Project Dream if you want to find out more about it, but now I'm just getting off topic, sorry. Okay, so to sum up, Banjo Kazooie is a really great 3D platformer where the collecting and exploring is fun and rewarding. The original release on the N64 is a bit unforgiving with the life mechanic, but the XBLA release luckily fixes this and makes the game infinitely better. The music's amazing, the graphics are really good, and overall I just love the game. It's so much fun to play. This is Arcane Toaster after being really lazy with this video, signing out. Hopefully back with another video soon enough. Oh, crap, I forgot this. I asked what your favorite level in the game was on Twitter, and I got these answers, so here you go, you little dicks.